Hello folks, Red Labor here. Hope you're having a great day. I'm not really a sports fan, and other than the solidarity and goodwill that exists with the Olympics, I really don't keep up with a lot of sports. Doesn't make me abnormal. It's just I'm just not really into athletics at all. And you can tell by the great shape I am that you can tell I'm not really into sports and what have you. But I want to talk about the 2012 Olympics and the American political right getting their panties in a wad over the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. And and I think it is because there is so much right-wing paranoia in this country that I do think that when they did the opening ceremony praising the British National Health Service, it was to tell American people, hey, we're here to tell you the truth and not don't believe the right-wing bullshit you hear in the right-wing media in the United States. And that's really what it came down to. It's amazing how much people beat up on the National Health Service. From personal experience, no, I've only been to England once, 6 wonderful nights in London back in '06. But every time I talk, most people, 99% of the British people I've ever talked to here in the United States or over there in the UK told me the same thing about the National Health Service. It's great. I mean, they're pretty satisfied with it. And no, they're not your usual suspect. They're not the ultra-poor, impoverished types. They're not partisan labor rights, although I know that the poor and those on the left in Britain has something to brag about. They created something great in 1948 with the Attlee government, but a very monumental reform that transformed society for the better. But I talk to people who are very wealthy in Great Britain, whether they're here or whether they were over there when I was there visiting. We're talking about people who are wealthy and people who are conservative, Tories. Even the most staunch Thatcherite out there, most of them would tell you what I'm telling you. They love the National Health Service. Yeah, they may not like the welfare state over there. They may not like the trade unions, although sadly enough, trade unions are not what they used to be in Great Britain, but they're probably still a tad more influential in politics in the UK than they are here. Unfortunately for here, fortunate for them over there. Point I'm trying to make is that people from all walks of life, all kinds of political persuasions, or what have you, love the National Health Service. Physicist Stephen Hawking, you've seen the guy. He can't talk. He's in an electronic wheelchair, and he's got the little wires and all these devices around him. He can't even talk, but in The Guardian, he did an article about how had it not been for the National Health Service, he would have been dead. And the thing about it is, folks, that's what it really comes down to. The National Health Service works. Most people go to the doctor. Most people, if they need prescriptions, they go to the local chemist, pharmacy down the street. They need a medical procedure. They make the appointments. And they do this without all this crazy paperwork that we Americans, even those of us fortunate enough to afford private health insurance, we have to put up with bullshit forms, private sector red tape to make sure that the insurance companies don't pull a fast one on us and try to deny us a treatment when we need it, in spite of us paying out our asses for health insurance in this country, United States. In Great Britain, you don't have to have that silly paperwork. You show your card, you're taken care of. It's been around since 1948, the National Health Service. It's probably the most socialized medical system in the democratic world. And now here's the thing. People who wants to talk about, oh, you have socialized medicine in America, we're going to be like those communist countries in the former Eastern Bloc and China and all that, and we don't want to be like that. No, we don't want to be communists. I don't want to be communist. I am staunchly anti-communist. I mean, over there, 90 miles off the coast of Florida, over there, Cuba, you know. Yes, I'm glad that everybody has health care in Cuba. That's the one thing their government did right. But I would rather live in the United States with all its faults than to get free health care in Cuba. Although, that is the one thing I do admire about Cuba is their free health care. And anybody who says, oh, there you go, praising something from a communist country, those are the same right-wingers. They'll tell you, well, I didn't agree with everything Pinochet did in Chile when he was the dictator, but he certainly turned the economy around. And, of course, Augusto Pinochet was a military right-wing dictator in Chile that was he overthrew the government with the assistance of the U.S. government over this false claim that Salvador Allende was a communist, which he was not. But anyway, getting back to Great Britain. Great Britain is America's closest ally. Whenever the United States are involved in anything globally around the world, who has America's back? The first country to have America's back is Great Britain. And think about it this way. From my political perspective, during the dark nether days of Ronald Reagan, when Reagan was unfortunately the President of the United States, Margaret Thatcher's government coincided and governed in Great Britain. And she probably overall scrapped more of the welfare state and scrapped more of the socialistic reforms in Great Britain than probably the most nasty teabagger, or I'm going to be thoughtful, somebody who advocate Austrian economics ever could here in the United States. But I'm sure Ian Rand's wet dream is what Thatcher did to Great Britain. But the thing about it is, in spite of all the right-wing economics Great Britain were imposed on during the Thatcher years, notice that she didn't get rid of the National Health Service. And it will only make sense. It's because, maybe the Tories saw what works in Great Britain, because if you Americanize the healthcare system, you're going to have the disaster you're going to have with our economy in the United States. And that's probably why they have better protections of their jobs, and that's why the unions were not as gone from Great Britain as they have been in the United States. And that's probably why Britain has a better manufacturing sector, more solid than the United States. And and thing about it is that National Health Service, it actually contributes to non-exploitative economic growth in the free market. It actually not just coincide well with the free market, it actually benefits the free market. I mean, for all the class warfare you hear from the far left, which I'm a member of, and I am anti-capitalist to the point that I despise crony capitalism. Socialized medicine or the National Health Service creates a good kind of capitalism. It makes it easier for businesses to operate. It makes it easier for people to start new businesses. I mean, it will create a new entrepreneurial spirit. Perhaps not in the health sector. Well, private health insurance is a drain on the economy, and those who are paper shufflers in the private health insurance companies in this country are actually, whether they're good people or bad people on an individual basis, they are basically a drain to the economy and contributing to the waste of dollars in the United States. And this is a government program, I'm mimicking right-wing rhetoric here, that actually do work. And I wish that we could have had the enlightenment of the British Labour Party government of Prime Minister Clement Attlee that existed and governed Britain from 1945 to 1951. And it to show you that it's not just a socialist pipe dream. Do you know that whether it would have been Attlee or Winston Churchill re-elected? Do you know that the three main political parties in Britain at the time, the British Labour Party, who were the Socialists, they are the Socialist Party in Britain, the Liberal Party, which are probably akin to moderate Democrats here in the United States, moderate to conservative Democrats, and the Conservative Party, the Tories, which are akin to what the Republican Party is in this country. All three of them endorsed the Bettridge Report that during World War II that called for the enactment and the establishment of a national health service. And kudos to the Olympics in London for praising the National Health Service, because the truth needs to be said. The NHS works, and as much of a proponent as I am of single payer, because I prefer single payer to Obamacare, I am still opposed to Obamacare because it is too private health insurance friendly. If you think Obamacare and Obama's a socialist, then you folks in the Tea Party don't know about what the British Labour Party has done for the people of Great Britain, the good it has done. The Democrats could not hold a candle to what the British Labour Party did in Great Britain. You know, not even the best president this country ever had, Franklin Roosevelt, could hold a candle to what Clement Attlee did for the people of Great Britain. So I'm here to pretty much put an end to this myth that the NHS is a horrible system, because it isn't. To the people of Great Britain, if you're listening, you have an American fan of the NHS. Kudos, and long live the UK National Health Service. And I pray that we one day could have one here in this country. Thank you. And regardless of your ideology, go ahead and comment. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye-bye.